because in 2021 the International Labour Organization, but also UNICEF, announced for the first time in 2 decades that the number of child laborers worldwide went up. And this was obviously connected to the pandemic, but even before that, the number of child laborers rose to an appalling 160 million children. And half of these 160 million children are located in sub-Saharan Africa. And this is the consequence of a historic, structural, and systemic discrimination of Africa. And with COVID, these inequalities have simply taken another dimension. And the reality is that this shift to even worse condition is borne by the most marginalized and poorest communities. And within these communities, it hits children, girls, it hits ethnic and religious minorities, but also people on the move. They are much more likely to fall into extreme poverty and the worst forms of child labor. In addition to this, the situation is aggravated by the fact that Africa has the lowest amount of social protection measures available. If we talk about health, if we talk about education, if we talk about sick benefits, children benefits. And this is all despite the fact, and I know I'm preaching to the believers here, that Africa is the most resource-rich continent in the world. But the benefits of this do not end up with the most marginalized communities. And this is due to a deeply biased financial global architecture, an international system that systematically discriminates against Africa. So when we saw what happened in COVID, we helped big businesses, we helped rich countries, rich people. Only 0.13% of the global relief funds that were put out, 12 trillion, 0.13% were given to multilateral funding agencies that support low-income countries. So that is the reality. And one more thing before I give it up to my colleagues. When talking about these structural problems, we need to talk about the IMF. We need to talk about special drawing rights. In the COVID crisis, special drawing rights, basically the IMF giving countries the prerogative to print money, were given to European countries, 2,000 per European child, 2,000 USD of printing money in European countries, only 60 USD in African countries. So this is the continuous subjugation of Africa by an international financial system, and that needs to be addressed among many, many other issues which I will talk in the second round about.